So, good evening, sir. How are you today?
Good evening. I am fine, Nollywire. Thank you for all that you do for the industry. Thank you for this coverage. It's great to be here. Does it feel like a transition or a fresh start? I think it's a bit of both. I think that there are experiences that one has had over 2 decades, almost 22 years, that puts you in good stead when doing a business like this. So, in that sense, by based on experience and working in the same sector, in that sense, it's kind of a transition. But in the sense of building essentially from the scratch a new business, it's a fresh start, and it's an opportunity to take the learnings of the past and try your best to do things in a different way and probably in a more effective way, if that makes sense. And I think it's a very good time to also start a business where I like to hope and pray that this is the lowest point we'll get as a country in Nigeria in terms of challenges. That is, if we're able to build a business from the scratch in these very, very dark times, that means we're likely to build a business that will last. So for me, I like to think of it as a hybrid, and I think it's great time.
And, you know, thank you very much for that answer. So, now, with Nile Group, looking at the fresh start, this is a fresh beginning. And looking at your experience, your time in the industry, I believe there should be something that you have tried to fix for the longest time that you have not been able to. And now with Nile Group, what is that thing, and how do you plan to fix that?
So the challenge I've seen recently is that as a the industry that of regard that we've become, before it used to be about quantity of films, right? Now we got a lot more respect for the quality of films. We've now have more respect for the reach of our films, the fan base globally, the acclaim of our films. But it has become too dependent on very, very few platforms of monetization. And for me, it poses a big risk of sustainability, poses a big risk of viability, and the overdependence on, I'll call them well meaning corporations, albeit foreign, is also a risk that one cannot continue to sit on the side and be folding arms looking at. And for me, the big challenge, and I hope that we're here as now to help solve, is how can we get more platforms to formalize the demand that exists for our content? We know the demand is there. In fact, the piracy levels tells us the demand is there. The fact that people will use their data to download illegally paid for data tells you there is demand. So how then do you build out platforms legally that you can legally then monetize watching or viewing of content? That's the big challenge that we want to solve. And we want to solve them by a variety of ways, particularly access to the lower class, access for the lower class to our films through communal or community screenings, leveraging on technology. And I'm pleased to say we're working with a tech company to solve at least or to make an attempt at that. And we're excited with the kind of responses that we're getting from the market for that kind of solution. The goal will be, can we get 1,000 locations of that in a year? And can we get up to 5,000 in 5 years? It's a bold, ambitious vision, but we think it can be done. We also think that, again, in monetizing content, the very high end, in this kind of gathering, the Ikoyi folks, the VI, Lekki folks, the Ikeja GRA folks that want to see films in a certain way or want to have an experience, how do we take the experiences closer to them? By providing luxury, cinemas. And Nigerians, we love the affluent things, just as we are plenty in the lower and middle class. And we think that a deliberate product for that we can do at scale, again, is a way of creating jobs, creating opportunities for our filmmakers, getting their films monetized, and top naira being paid for it. That's something we're looking at. And last but not the least, and another, there's the whole list of other innovations that we're working on, is taking the best of our films internationally. In the past, we've been very reactive. We've been very opportunistic about what exists there. But we know over the last 4 years that there's been an outpouring of, or let's say outpouring, is it outflux of Nigerians into diaspora, key markets, Canada, US, UK, who is serving them with high quality filmed entertainment? And who says that they are not ready to pay top dollar because they're some of the best immigrants, best exposed, best exploited immigrants in the world. So how can we consistently take them to markets out there, enjoying best of the continent culturally, and paying forex that we can bring back to the sector? I hope that the government are not watching and looking at it as an avenue to tax us, but taking our and exporting our culture and importing much needed revenues to help, the industry. Those are the kind of things. It's a singular challenge of more and more platforms that we can monetize content and create wealth for the industry. That's what Now seeks to do.
Wow. So, I mean, for me, as I'm listening to you, the question in my head is: this is a lot of work. Now, this I believe boils down to the team, which I've gotten a lot of feedback with the team. I was even on a call like 2 days ago with a friend, like 2-hour call, and we were just going back and forth about the team. And I would just like your feedback or your breakdown on the team and your confidence in the team, sir.
Look, I mean, if your vision does not scare you, then it's not big enough, right? But I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I mean, this is a vision. This is an industry I'm passionate about. I've loved. I've always been daring. I'm always asking questions. I always feel like it can be done, right? And we've assembled, not by our own doing, but a combination of God's goodness, great timing, a need to do something that would leave a legacy. We've been blessed with, I call them the Avengers, to be honest. Blessed with a really, really strong, committed, focused team that know that there is work at hand. They know that failure is not on the table. Success cannot be negotiated. We have to make sure we hit the ground running and do something that will be remembered for this industry. It's not really about us. It's about really what our service to the industry. And I'm so proud of this very strong female-led team that we've assembled. There are male too in our team, but very experienced, dynamic, focused, hardworking hands that we've assembled. And there will be more to come. You're very right. We are not under no illusions that this is going to be plain sailing. As a matter of fact, we don't know where the next, God forbid, not world war, we don't know where the next political issue outside of our control might happen. We don't know in 2-3 months' time what the dollar naira rate will be or what inflation would say. But what we know is that we are dogged and we are determined that we can play a role in helping to change the fortunes of our great country through the Nigerian film industry.
Wow. So, final question, sir, is I know that you've announced that the first title that will be leading Now's Nile Entertainment, which is the distribution arm, will be Omoni Oboli's Wives on Strike. I know this is a big decision because that first statement is very important. Can you walk me through why this is what you chose for that launch?
Let me really thank on camera Mrs. Omoni Oboli, my friend of many years, amazing actress, and you've seen her in a variety of roles over the years. Fantastic mother, super wife, awesome professional. I want to thank her for taking the real risk on essentially a new entity. I want to challenge anybody that gets to see Wives on Strike to a debate on why Wives on Strike isn't one of the best films that has been done in Nigeria. And it tells you everything you need to know in terms of how far we're willing to go, and we will go for such a person and a product at a time like this. with a company like ours. You know, it's a great film. You're going to see unforgettable, memorable performances. You're going to see high octane drama, action. You're going to see really well crafted scenes, really well made film that we're just proud to get behind. And we're blessed. Not a lot of new companies get to launch in such a compelling way. We're blessed that we also have a filmmaking partner that is willing to work with us. I mean, just weeks ago, Omani was walking out of our offices, you know, working on strategies, working on things. And Omani was one of the pioneers of meet and greets in the country. So for her to make a comeback after 5 years, our last cinema film was Love is War in 2019. And she's such a YouTube sensation now, latest grandmother. It tells you the versatility and tells you the depth of this Amazon and what I call pure talent that this lady is. And I can't wait for Nigeria and the world, because we're taking this internationally, to see the masterpiece Omoni has done. And I think that it's going to be the first of many that she's going to do.
I know I said last question, but you just said international again. And everybody has been saying international. And I also, when I saw the press release, I saw some new markets. I saw Australia. I'm like, how is this going to happen? And if you could just shed more light on that too.
Musa Dolua, we are in talks with over 50 territories around the world, including Africa, and over 50 territories. We mean business. Like, we want to actively take the best of our products around the world. If it can be shown that people in Brazil and Colombia are consuming our content streaming, why will we be content with streaming revenues alone when there's potential theatrical revenues? When we know theatrical revenues is the gateway for all forms of other ancillary revenues. And when you have the products that you can play side by side with other international films, and you have the diaspora audience for it. I always tell people, like, first levels, we don't mind being mainstream or crossing over. But my priority is that Nigerian diaspora first. A lot of the Indian cinema you see, or Turkish cinema or Polish cinema, their primary audience first is their people. And in the US, where there's an estimated 2 to 3 million Nigerians, or in the UK with the same number, or in Europe or Australia, where the number is growing, and Canada that has become a new place, why are we folding our arms? There's potentially a $1 million, $2 million growth to be made there. And we know that these people are watching. So it's time, my brother, to take the films to them in cinemas in the ways they know. And it's time also to challenge what already exists. Why can't there be a Nigerian and African streaming platform off the back of the success that we're showing with theatrical performance? So I hope I've inspired and not confused you about why we're excited about the industry.